Hello? All right, good. We're going. Finally. Sorry, I have been having some webcam trouble. Okay, so this is your review for your paper. And I just want to compliment you because I think you've done an enormous amount of work so far. You've covered some great territory, raised wonderful issues about the reading, made great outlines of the important points in the textbook, and really delved into the issues in the articles. So I just want to congratulate you, and I appreciate your hard work. And I'm really overall very pleased with the discussions. Some discussions have been a little bit thin. I'm not talking about those so much. The ones that are going stronger, obviously, are getting at the issues better. So let's all aim for hard work. All right, so looking at a kind of review for this, thinking about the paper. Okay, the paper has two parts. It has the My Webspiration part, and it has the written aspect. So as you prepare for this, I think what I would suggest is to go back through the discussions, take out a pen and paper, make notes on the points raised in the discussion. You have good outlines there. People have listed issues, they've listed names and events. Try to keep your focus for creating the paper on the issues. Make headings of issues and concepts that are really important. Put the names and dates underneath. You can add the names and dates into the little objects that you create on My Webspiration as you go and use them to fill out your paper. But I'm not looking for a paper of names and dates, sort of a progressive narrative. Okay, so there's great material there. Review it. In terms of the discussions, I think there are really only 2 points that really merit my intervention in terms of the substance. Okay, the first one is the Hindu-Muslim question. It is extremely easy to buy into the British construction of these two communities as separate, right? And the contemporary fact that we have Pakistan and India only makes it easier. Okay, but do not buy into this. Think back. Remember the first chapter with the Mughals, how we talked about relationships and status identities, right? These were not defined by religious communities. So think back to the pre-colonial Sultanate India. And then as we start to see the how that empire falls apart, we're looking much more at regional identities, people who classify themselves as being from a certain region, of a certain language, etc. So try to be clear that even though the British are doing everything they can to sift through the past to find evidence of these communities being separate, we have evidence as historians that these identities were not the priority. Certainly there were differences in religious practice between people who worship Shiva, people who worship Vishnu, people who pray in mosques, but those were not overarching bounded identities. So you must keep that separate. Okay, second, there was a little bit of a discussion about despotism based on the Metcalfe reading, The Ideologies of the Raj. The British used the idea of despotism, not the practice of despotism. Okay, so despotism is the idea that there is a person in whom there is all power, all powerful. Right, so power becomes concentrated in a person rather than in a legal system. So the British decided that the Mughal Empire was based on despotism, that all the power was concentrated in this high leader of the Mughal emperor himself, and that their rule would be beneficial because they would bring the rule of law. Okay, so it's a justification. It's not based on a complex understanding of how the Mughal Empire worked, but based on a way of justifying the differences between their law and Mughal practices of loyalty. Now, in the end, they actually ended up using despotism to justify a lot of the things that they were doing that were not based on rules of law. So it becomes a little bit more complicated. So when we talk about despotism as one of the ways that the British came to rule India, it wasn't that they used it, it wasn't that they found it, it was that they embraced it as an idea against which they could contrast themselves and at the same time justify different kinds of practices. Okay, so those are the two things, despotisms and Hindus and Muslims. All right, I think as you prepare for your paper, this My Webspiration website, I think you will find it interesting and useful. You can kind of tap away at it little bits at a time, which I know some of you have that sort of schedule. If you have any questions, one of the nice things about My Webspiration is that you can put me in as a viewer and we can look at it together. So if you're frustrated, if you're confused, you're not sure what you're supposed to be doing, send me an email, put me in as a viewer to your on the outline that you're creating, and we can talk about it. We can talk about it by phone, we can talk about it by email. I think we could probably even do an iChat about it. I could learn how to do that. And you can get going. So any questions, let me know. Review what you've done so far. There's a lot of great material in these discussions. And happy writing. Okay. And thanks for your patience. I'm very happy to have this video out now.